Dude, when you asked us to go to a place that like brings us joy and felt good, I went straight to your parents' house. I think like obviously, the fact that you were guiding me through it as well with your voice had some influence over where I went, but at the same time, like I don't know if it did. I mean, it was just interesting because like as soon as you said that, I was transported there straight away, and then my mind was like, oh, like is this do I want to do I want to create something else? Because this is Dan saying it, and I was like, no, no, I'm good. And so I just stayed there and just like felt into it. And then you were like, all right, like, you know, imagine like, your five favorite people and they were already there, dude. Super cool. It was super cool. And then you were like, any animals you want with you? And then like Rumi came into the picture and Zelda and everyone. And that was super cool. But it was really nice to realize that my mind went straight to your parents' home. And then I envisioned straight away your mom. And then I envisioned your dad, giving your dad a hug. Um, yeah, that's where I went. Where'd you go?
I bet you can guess if I give you a couple guesses.
Really?
Yeah, you could probably guess.
Dominican?
Nope.
Mm, now I'm on the spot. Um, where'd you go? Where's your happy place? I mean, camping somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, all right, man. There's so many different places. Hutch's Pool,
Yep.
Canyon Lake, Hutch's Pool. Insane, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Insane. Cool. Cool. Um, well, thank you for that, man. And for people listening, every episode before we start, Dan and I take turns of guiding uh, each other into our hearts, and we have a different, we kind of just speak from our hearts, and it takes us into different places. And then when we come out of that, we start our episodes every time, and it's just such a beautiful practice. I also do that with the guests that we have on here. I find that to be like something that I do before I step into any intentional like space. You know what I mean? By intentional space, what I mean is like somewhere that, I know I'm going to be wanting to do the best I can to be as aligned and vulnerable and sharing, and instead of just being like in my like subconscious, or kind of like really setting an intention to be here for an extended period of time. And so I find it to be super helpful, going to my heart and just allowing my heart to direct my mind, um, and off we go, you know?
Yeah. It definitely it quiets the mind and it settles the nerves a bit, at least from my perspective. It yeah, it just kind of it's like, all right, this is why we're here, you know.
Yeah. I mean, after doing that certification through heart math, and just realizing the power that I was feeling and like what it would do to me, I was just like, dude, I gotta utilize this more, man. I gotta utilize my heart more, man. And so yeah, exactly what you said, slowing down your breath, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, balances the nervous system, then getting your awareness and attention focused on your heart, wakes up your heart, sends energy to your heart. And it's just like, it's great, man. It's like, all right, let's go. It's like nature's MDMA, It's like, let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I
Um,
still have to do an episode on hard math. I don't think we've
no, yeah, yes, we do. Yeah, I mean, dude, I plan on doing a bunch of episodes on that. Um, so yeah, just get like a whole heart math course on uh on our podcast would be sweet. So, but today I would like to talk about suffering. I'd like to talk about identification as the root of suffering, and just kind of explore those two topics, right? Um, I'm really excited to share on this. I think, it's something that is going to benefit a lot of people, just hearing our expression and our experience, and our perspectives. Because, man, I mean, dude, like the consistency on in which I used to suffer compared to the lack of consistency in which I suffer now. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. Is crazy, man. And I realized very intimately that it had nothing to do with my circumstances and everything to do with my internal world and my ability to navigate. my internal world. And so I am really excited to share this with people because I feel and I observe a lot of people causing suffering for themselves under the illusion that it is their circumstances that that is why they're suffering. And I don't know, that's just not the case. And so let's uh let's get straight into it. And so I guess let's start off with like what do I mean by identification? So I guess what I mean is like mistaking what we experience for what we are would be the best way to say identification, right? And so it would be like thinking that you are your thoughts, thinking that you are your emotions, thinking that you are the roles that you play, like Ben the son and Ben the husband and Ben the rafting guide and whatever roles you play in life. Thinking that you are your wounds is a huge one, dude, that I see, right? Especially within the spiritual community, like this idea that I'm never healed. I'm always wounded. I'm always hurt. Um, Identification with like achievements, and then beliefs. Beliefs is a big one. We've spoken a lot about that, I feel like, on this. And so I'm excited to break it up a bit. And so the difference between identification and non-identification, kind of just more like awareness, would be like the difference between like I am angry versus like anger is moving through me, right? Just kind of giving you some ideas of like how you could express this in your life and how my like communication has changed, not because I wanted it to change, but it had to change because it was no longer true. And so it had to change. I had to find other ways to express anger, right? I'm not angry. I'm just anger is moving through me. Or like I am anxious versus like anxiety is present, for example, right? And so it's not you. You aren't anxiety, right? Anxiety is just coming up through you right now. And so what's another thing I want to talk about in regard before I kind of set the stage? Pain and suffering, pain and suffering. And so pain and suffering are different for this conversation. I want to kind of make them different for this conversation. So let's say pain is a part of life, right? So like breaking your leg or whatever it is, right? Pain is a part of life. Pain happens to your physical body and it's a part of life. And suffering is the story that you wrap around the pain, right? And so let's think about those distinctions as as we continue down this episode. So pain is a part of life and suffering is pretty much the story that we wrap around the pain, right? So like I break my leg, but I break my leg doing something I didn't think I should have been doing, right? And then instead of just dealing with the pain, I'm creating a story like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I'm so dumb and blah, blah, blah. And off we go down the suffering path, right? Um, and so the things I kind of want to explore and like the path that I want to take is like identification creates separation, right? And so let's think of that as part one. And then separation creates fear. Let's think of that as part two. Fear creates grasping and resistance. Let's think of that as part three. And then part four would be like grasping and resistance create suffering, right? And we're just going to kind of break them down by telling stories and experiences and kind of go through and touch on all of those. But that's a really beautiful way to think of it, right? Like identification creates suffering. I'm sorry, identification creates separation, right? It's a beautiful way to think about it, right? And then that separation creates fear, which we can't feel without separation. And then fear creates grasping and resistance to life, to what is. And then that grasping and resistance to what is creates suffering, right? Anything you want to share, Dan, so far?
Um, yeah, I know. Just it is very interesting to navigate, you know, this life when you kind of understand that concept and how often it comes up. Like a lot of times we'll go and we'll be working at a client's house and they want to share all their suffering that and all their pain and the reasons behind it, and oh well, I'd be out here more, but I have this going on, or I had to get my knee looked at, or my knee surgery and I haven't been able to, or I had to battle cancer for the past year. But people will share that like so willingly. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and because they really do identify with it. And
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it's a very interesting, phenomenon that I see over and over again.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, right, that like it's not that suffering isn't real. Suffering's very real. Um, but I think distinguishing between like the pain and suffering is super important, right? It's like, what is the story that we continue to tell ourselves, and does that story continue to like cause pain and cause suffering, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just
Um,
interesting how like a complete stranger, like you've never met them before, and then this is the first thing they're telling you about, and they want you to know like every detail, like, oh, this has happened on this date, and I've been, battling it for this long, or I've been recovering for this long, and they just like it is their whole like it's like I've never met you before, but this is what you choose to share with me. It's like it's kind of wild.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean, it's a perfect example of kind of what we're talking about, right? It is their identity,
yeah.
right? It is their identity. So when it comes to like, oh, how are you? That is what they'll tell you because this is my identity, right? Um, and that's such an interesting question as well, right? Like, I wasn't gonna start here, but let's start here, I guess. Like the whole question of like, who are you,
Mhm.
right? Like if we're gonna talk about identification, let's kind of start there, right? So, how many times have we answered that question in our lives? Who are you, right? We've answered it so many times. I remember answering it in class. You say your name, and maybe they want some more things about you. So, you share a little bit about your family or some sports you play. But it's such an interesting question and such a simple question, yet I don't think majority of people actually answer the question. I know I didn't answer the question for a really long time. I would just continue to answer it with identifications that I had, right? And so I would answer it as in, oh, I'm Ben. I'm a soccer player. I was born in Australia. Like none of those things are who I am, right? All of those things are identities. All of those things are experiences that Ben has had or that I have had. But who is the one having those experiences is the question. Who am I? Not what are you doing? What experiences have you had? Right. Um, and so let's start off by posing that question to everybody. Like, who are you? Like when you put to the side all of your identities, all of your roles, all of the things that you've accumulated in this life, because all those things are accumulations. Who are you? I'm not going to answer that question for you because that's your question to answer. Right. I know how my answer has changed over the years. It's changed dramatically over the years. And I don't even feel like it's serving for me to tell you what my answer is. I just want to leave you with that question. Who are you? Who
Yeah, no,
are
and
you?
I kind of struggle with that because it's like if you're not gonna go through where I was born, what I've done my whole life, then what do you say, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. What do you say, Dan?
I mean, I'm just another human being and just walking this journey of life and doing my best to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you could answer it. And the cool thing is, no matter how you answer it, none of them actually really answer it,
Mhm.
which is the fucking crazy thing about it. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like, all you can possibly give to that question is your perspective on who you are. Can we actually ever answer the question in its entirety? I mean, I don't know because I mean, who are you? Who are you without all of that stuff, right? It's an interesting question to ask, and it's an interesting question to answer. For me, what I have found in my life, without answering that question, for me, what I have found is that instead of answering it, just continue to ask it. Just continue to ask it. And then you think you found an answer, great. Continue to ask it. Then you think you found an answer, great. Continue to ask it, you know, and enjoy all of the answers, love all of the answers, appreciate all of the answers, but never stop asking it, you know?
Don't try to identify with any of the answers.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. Pretty much. I like it. Um, and so who are you? Who are you? Uh, Again, it may sound super simple, but I would really encourage you to take that question with you throughout the rest of your life and never think that you have the answer to it, and continue to answer it. um, so when it comes to like identification and suffering, I feel like the root illusion could be expressed as like the wave suffering because it forgot it is the ocean, right? And like we are like the ocean, but sometimes we think we're the wave, right? And that creates again separation. from what we really are, right? Rumi had a really cool quote on that same idea. He said, like, we are not a drop in the ocean, we are the ocean in a drop. I thought that was sick, dude. I thought that was sick. Um, and so, yeah, when we identify with something limited, then we completely forget our infinity. We completely forget how unlimited we are and how interconnected we are with all things. And that is the root illusion I feel like that identity creates through separation. Um, I would say the major forms of identification that we experience in our life, one would be the mind, right? Believing every thought that you have, becoming possessed by mental narratives. I think that's something that a lot of people experience, man, including myself at times, right? Something I've become aware of, dude, is like how many people don't sleep well, which blows my mind, bro, because I'm like, I sleep like a rock, dude, every night. And I've talked to a lot of these people, and like a lot of them have just these mental narratives just playing over and over again. I don't mean you've spoken about this sometimes, dude, where you've had this experience as well. I can relate because I remember experiences where I've had that. I remember like when I was in school and I had a test the next day, and like I really struggled to sleep that night because all I was thinking about was a test, or when I was playing soccer and I had a grand final the next day or something like that, all you're thinking about is the grand final. Um, but
Fitness
yeah,
test.
huh?
Fitness test for me, dude. Every
Fitness test.
we had a fitness test, I could never sleep the night before. Oh
No
man,
way, dude.
hated it.
That's funny. That's funny. Um, and so, but yeah, I feel like that's how it shows up in the mind. Um, I feel like, yeah, within emotions, um, turning temporary feelings into identity, pretty much, right? So like emotions come and go, right? And ultimately, if we continue, like if we identify with those emotions, then they come and they stay, and they stay for a lot longer than they would have if we didn't identify with them. So, Thich Nhat Hanh, I think gives the best representation of this, where he talks about like, your thoughts and your emotions are like clouds, just like watch them pass by, right? Without trying to grab them and say, "Hey, man, stay here," right? And so, I always like that, man. He was one of my greatest teachers, dude. I love that guy.
Can you
The
say
way
that again?
who what
That name?
Thich Nhat Hanh,
Thich Nhat Hanh.
yeah, Thich Nhat Hanh, yeah, dude, he's unreal, man. He is a Buddhist monk, and when it comes to people's interpretation of Buddhism, I really enjoy his, dude. And his teachings, he's just so gentle, man, and so beautiful, but so powerful, you know? Um, if you haven't listened to him before, I would definitely invite you to listen to his teachings. He's just such a beautiful being. Um, there's a really cool book that I've read a few times now. It's called The Heart of the Buddha, that he wrote, which is insane, dude. You should definitely read it. It's great. What else? Stories, right? So like the stories that we create, like this happened to me, therefore this is who I am, right? Like that's a big one, dude. That's a really big one. And it can be for what we perceive to be small things all the way up to what we perceive to be like the biggest things, right? Um, whether it's I broke up with the love of my life and so now I am unlovable. This is who I am. I am an unlovable person. Um, or whether I was abused at some point in my life and now that's who I am. I am the victim, right? These are very powerful forms of suffering, and we continue to instill them by thinking about them and feeling into them and playing out the stories. Um, Something that I thought was super interesting. I read something the other day. They were talking about trauma, and they were talking about this study that they did, that apparently showed like huge promise, and it was pretty much people not going to talk therapy or anything like that, but people just writing out their story. So their traumatic story, they would just have to write it out again and again and again. And apparently, by doing this consistently, they continued to be able to like work through it themselves as they would write out their story. Because every
Interesting.
time it was slightly different, right? Because you wouldn't look at the last one, you would just start writing again from this day compared to yesterday and the day after. And so as you were writing it, you were working through it. And I thought that was super cool, dude. You know?
That's wild.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense too, man, when you think about it, right? It's like it's talk therapy, but you're talking to yourself,
Yeah.
and you're just like, and you're taking the time, dude. They're not just words. You get to see them and have that relationship with them on the paper.
Yeah. Well, and like you always replay your traumatic experiences and you always kind of embellish them. I mean, I'm sure some people, are gonna have maybe some things to say about this, but I think in my experience at least, like you have a bad experience and then it lives in your mind as a bad experience and you continue to make it worse just by like stewing on it and
Hmm.
reflecting on it and going over it again and again, where and then in your mind it happened way worse than it actually happened. Like if you could go relive it, you'd be like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But like just because you felt a certain way about it in that moment, every time you go back to it, you just make it worse and make it worse. And I don't know. That's been my experience at least.
I mean, your experience is also very heavily backed by science. Yeah, I mean, pretty much like again, not that science is the truth, but ultimately, it's really cool to talk about different studies and stuff. But there was a meta-analysis done, which pretty much just like a bunch of studies put together, and pretty much what they came up with, it was the consensus that what you're talking about, right? Like as time goes on, your memories are very unreliable, dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
super unreliable. And based on the emotion that was behind that story, the story pretty much continues to go deeper and deeper into that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, if it was a perceived negative experience, then it'll just go deeper and deeper into that, completely lose the story, but just create its own story based on that emotion, you know? Um, yeah, I mean, stories are everything, man. Stories can change your life. Um, Something that came up for me as you were talking was just like, all right, so then what? Like, what do you do? Right. So, like, if you have this story that this experience that you had that you deemed negative at some point in your life, how do you work with that personally?
Um, Nowadays, I latch on to that truth that I know to be true, that that it's worse in my mind than it actually was,
Hmm.
and so I hold on to that, and I kind of remind myself that I am not my past, I'm not my perceived future. I'm just focused on the present, and that's been like enormously helpful for my mental health.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Um, so yeah, stories are a huge one. That's why we got stuck and we're just going nuts with it because that's a huge one, man. One of the things that changed my life was asking myself the question, what am I believing right now to be true that isn't true? And again, pretty much another way to say that is, what is the story I'm telling myself right now? It's another way to say that. Man, if you can answer that question, during experiences within your life, it can change your life real fucking quick because you can hold up that bullshit story to the truth and you can just shine the light of that truth on that bullshit story, man, and reprogram quick. Um, what are some other things besides stories? Achievements, right? So like identifying with achievements, like success as worthiness,
Mhm.
and then like failure as unworthiness. That's a huge one, dude. I've experienced so much of that in my life, especially with soccer and stuff like that. Big time. It was nice to let go of that, dude. Man, like how competitive I used to be and stuff, and like not that competitiveness is linked with like the whole success or wholeness or anything like that. But that's how I used to experience it. I would experience like my competitiveness as like, I need to win in order to feel whole. I need to win in order to feel good enough. Um, so it felt really good to kind of purify that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And not to say that I think competitiveness is a good attribute, like the
Yeah.
drive to succeed, the drive. I think that's that's really good. But to be comfortable and not feel, like you said, not feel less than whole if you don't win or succeed or whatever, and be attached to that outcome, I think is pretty important also. Not to say
Yeah.
everyone deserves participation trophies, like that's that's a whole other discussion.
Nice, dude. Nice. Nice. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Um, yeah. I think it's important for us to experience perceived failure. I think it's important for us to experience perceived success. I think it's super important, man. It allows us to realize our worth, right? Instead of, again, trying to cushion everything, bro. Trying to put yourself in a padded room, man. It's like, dude, how are you ever supposed to harden up if you're surrounded by pillows,
Yeah.
you know? Um, Another one, dude, is spiritual identity, becoming attached to being awake or healed. Fuck, man, that's a huge one too. Within the spiritual community, I get it. I've experienced it. Um, and I would just say, just do your best to be aware of it. And then another one comes to mind is like your personality in society. This is something I observe a lot now, and it's something I observed in myself as well until I shifted course. Was like building a self instead of experiencing life, right? Like I think that's a huge one, dude. Like building this idea of self, going to school, then going to college, then getting married, then having kids, then getting a career and all this stuff, man. You know what I mean? Just like building this like personality instead of really experiencing life, dude. Um, I think is where a lot of people are finding themselves stuck and they don't know why. And it's ultimately because they are putting themselves in this box and bullshit story of, I must do this in order to be successful. I must do this in order to be whole. I must do this in order to be just fill in the fucking blank, dude.
Yeah. And it's not
Um,
to say that they did anything wrong. Like they could have had a beautiful experience in what they did. It's just how they perceive it.
100%. Yeah, I mean, there is no right or wrong, right? It is what it is. But we will believe our stories,
Mhm.
Everyone will believe their stories, and that doesn't make them true, you know. Um, and so I really enjoy that space. I really enjoy having those conversations with people because ultimately you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? Again, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like you can do the thing that doesn't bring you joy. It's fine, dude. Do it. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
It's not the wrong thing, dude. Go for it. But ultimately, if you are confused as to why you're feeling that way, then it's nice to explore it, right? Um, and I mean, something that comes up is like talking about like exploration is a question that I think is like a cool question to explore for us based on the subject that we're talking about. And the question is, can grief exist without identification? Right? This is something that I have asked myself for a really long time, and I continue to ask myself, just like who I am. I continue to ask myself. I don't think I ever have the answer, but I think it's a really beautiful question. I would observe myself in grief. I would observe others in grief, and I continued to have different experiences throughout my life based on how identified I was. And so this question became a pretty big question for me. Um, and so again, this is just my perspective, my experience. So the question was, can grief exist without identification? And so I'll explain the question a bit more. Like, if for me personally, like, if you didn't have like any self at all, like complete no identification, then I would say no, you're not going to experience grief because grief is felt through the nervous system, the heart, and someone experiencing loss, right? That's what grief is. And so, no, without any identification whatsoever, you wouldn't experience grief. But I have experienced grief without like ego identification, right? Meaning that grief can exist and arguably in a purer way. Um, like the heart still breaks, but instead of this shouldn't have happened to me, or like this means something is wrong with me, or like this is over because of this loss, like my life is over because of this loss. Instead of all those stories, you're just awareness observing the grief. You're still going through the grief, right? I've experienced that. It's super interesting and amazing and cool. just as cool as every other type of grief. Um, but yeah, that's been my experience. I mean, what comes up for you when I ask that question?
Yeah, man, I almost feel like nowadays like more of a secondhand grief, like grief for someone else, like that's grieving. Like I feel bad for someone else that's grieving more than I feel bad myself in a lot of ways, which is
Hmm.
interesting. And that kind of connects to my other thought that I've had for a while during this conversation, but like like connecting to, for example, like your partner, your significant other's like feelings and like, something we talked about a lot, but like just wanting to fix everything and being attached to how they feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. Um, it's hard, man. It's hard. Obviously it's a different emotion to grief, but it's hard, dude. It's hard to watch someone that you love suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really cool to be able to feel into the fact that the suffering is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I know that helps me not only hold space for other people that are suffering, but also hold space for myself when I'm suffering. Just like it's okay for this to exist. It obviously is supposed to be here right now, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't resist the feeling,
yeah,
like feel into it if you want. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's all part of the human experience.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so yeah, I mean that's again that's my experience with grief. Um, what about like practices that have served me when it comes to like being able to step back from identification? I would say like meditation, hands down. Um, huge. Having the experience, which I think is the initial experience that most people have when they first start meditating, once they're able to calm down, is the experience of being the observer, right? And not being your thoughts and not being your emotions. It's such a powerful experience, dude.
Man, I wish I
Um,
had that before the fitness test. The nights before the fitness test, if I had experienced and felt into meditation before,
it'd be sick,
it
dude.
would have made it so much easier.
Yeah, dude, so much easier.
I was just thinking about the fitness test the whole night, and then
Uh,
still happened the next day.
it's so crazy, man. Reflecting back on those experiences, dude. You yeah, it would have helped a lot. Um, Another thing that helped me a lot was just like being the witness. So like once I experienced being the witness through meditation, then it was like, all right, man, like now I can just be the witness, right? I can, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say, I can just watch the cloud flow by, right? So like watching the cloud flow by is another great way to loosen identification, I would say. A super powerful way is like through devotion or surrender, just fucking letting it go, dude. You know what I mean? Just letting it all go. There is no more importance to anything. Just complete surrender, like offering it up is another way that I would say. Just like, hey man, um, I'm good. I completely surrender to all things, right? Can be really powerful. It's one of the reasons that people have such a transformative experience on hallucinogenics, because hallucinogenics don't really ask you to surrender, they force you to surrender. Um, and you feel very deeply what it's like to not surrender. And when you do, you feel as the freedom, dude, you know?
Yeah, I know. I was just saying it allows you to not be in control anymore and really feel into how that feels.
Yeah. I mean, or like again, the illusion that you were in control ever, right? Like
Right.
you get to really feel like the reality, which is holy shit, I'm not in control of any of this.
Still okay though.
Yeah, it's like it's still okay though. Can I be okay with this? Is this all right? Um, and that's super powerful, dude.
Yeah, no. So
Um,
I want to share just in case anyone else has struggled with this, but like in meditation or in trying to be the observer, um, again, just that resistance, like when the thoughts come up and you're like, okay, I'm just going to observe this thought. I'm just observing it. I'm just observing it. But why don't I feel better? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's because you're not actually like, fully like the concept, but you're not quite, I don't know, executing it, I guess. Or at least for me.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had that experience many, many, many times. And yeah, I've found that you're trying to force something that can't be forced,
Exactly.
right? You're still resisting under the illusion that you're letting go, pretty
Mhm.
much, right? Um, and so yeah, in those moments, I just continue to let go. Mantras are really like powerful, to help you let go because that allows you to tell yourself a new story now, right? Ram Dass's mantra was "I am loving awareness." That's always a really beautiful one. But you can come up with your own ones, things that feel really good for you. Um,
I also like observing myself resisting.
yeah, dude.
Then you go really down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah. There is it's endless. It really is endless, dude. But a lot of fun. Again, once it's viewed as fun, it's like, all right, let's do this. Um, that brings me to another point, like humor. Dude, I think humor is huge, man, when it comes to like stepping back from identification. Bro, like last night, I was watching the Kevin Hart roast and they got after it, bro. After it. And I was losing my mind. I was laughing so hard. But there are so many people that cannot laugh at that, right? Like can't laugh at racism, like racist jokes, can't laugh at sexist jokes, can't laugh at Trump jokes, can't I mean just can't laugh at things that they're identified with. Perfect way to say it, right? And so humor is huge, man. Go to a comedy store. Start going to a comedy store and anything you can't laugh at that gives you a feeling of like, oh, I can't believe he said that. Or, oh, he shouldn't have said that. Anything like that, dude, ding, 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 ding. Super identified, man. So
Mhm.
humor cuts through the bullshit. If you're listening to this right now and you haven't watched the Kevin Hart roast, go watch it, dude. See what comes up for you, man. It's my invitation to you. Have some fun, right? Enjoy it. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. And see if you can laugh at everything, because why not? Right? If you're going to get angry at everything, why can't we laugh at everything too? Right? Um, let's try that. Um, another thing that I feel like allows us to step back from identification is service. And what I mean by that is like being of absolute service, dude. Like for me, when I'm in complete service, there is no separation. I am you, you are me. I am not serving in order to like give something to me. It's this beautiful like reciprocity in a way. Like it's this cycle of energy where giving is receiving and receiving is giving. Um, I've also like I've also felt what it's like to serve through the ego as well. So it's not that you can't serve through the ego, you can, of course. But the service I'm talking about that allows you to step back from identification is obviously serving without the ego, just pure service. Um, nature, fucking hands down, dude. Nature. I know
Really?
that's yeah, it's big for me and you, dude. I mean, like, when I'm in the woods and I wake up in the woods and stuff like that, it's you're just the interconnectedness of all things becomes very apparent and very real very quickly, you know.
Yeah, Hutch is cool.
Hutch's pool, dude. Hutch's pool. Um, and then grief and loss. Dude, I think grief and loss are some of the best teachers when it comes to like how to step back from identification. Um, and it's honestly, it's been my greatest teacher. And again, I want to be clear, like identification isn't the enemy. None of this is the enemy, right? It's more about just being aware of it, right? Like, because if you're not aware of the fact that identification is causing your suffering, then how can you end your suffering if you desire to, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with suffering. Suffering is not the enemy either. I just wanted to share that. I think I've shared it already, but if not, there you go. So grief and loss, man, grief and loss is huge. It has taught me so much because it asks everything from you, right? Like I have observed myself grieving a loss through a very selfish place. I've observed that in myself, making it all about me. This person has passed away, but I'm making this all about me, right? And I've observed different things within myself as I've gone through my life, and I've just realized how big of a teacher that has been, and so I'm very thankful for that. Um, Anything else come up for you before we move on?
I mean, just a lot of these, the things we talk about, are so interconnected, and just the idea of contrast always comes up,
Yeah,
and just how, again, yeah, don't shy away from grief and loss and suffering, and again, we talk about it all the time, but without that, it can't. The other, the positive one can't exist.
yeah, exactly. Um, and so I'm going to leave you guys with some questions. But before I do that, because I want to kind of finish on that, I just want to kind of wrap up this episode and what we've been talking about, and just kind of give you some simplistic things to take into your heart. And so, what I would say is, when it comes to identification as the cause of suffering, we forget. And that's a really important statement. We forget. Instead of, we need to accumulate, right? I think many people are on the accumulation train. Like, in order for me to stop suffering, I must accumulate. I must acquire, right? I must consume, so on and so forth. And what I have found in my life experience is that it's not that at all. I just forgot. I forgot, man. I forgot that I am the ocean. I forgot that I am God. I forgot that I am divine. I forgot that I am everything. I forgot that I am you and you are me, right? I forgot that everything is interconnected. I forgot all of that. I started to believe separation. I started to believe that because these eyes are seeing this other thing, that me and that thing are different and me and that thing are other. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about. That's what this episode is about ultimately. And so if we are able to identify with all things, this is super interesting like perspective. So Sadhguru would talk about how in India back in the day, and I don't know how long ago that day was, but I think it was a while ago, um, before they would allow a child to go to school, they would create the environment for that child to identify with the cosmos. You use the word cosmos. You say universe or whatever it is, right? But pretty much the idea was like this child, before it is given information which is viewed as power, right? They must identify with all things. Why? Because if you power or if you empower a limited identity, it is going to use that power towards its limitations. I mean, look at the world right now, dude. You know what I mean? Look at the president of the United States. I mean, look at the president of Israel. I mean, look at all these people, man. Like, look at these people with very limited identities using their power to serve that identity.
Yep.
Right? It's insane. And so I thought this was super cool when Sadhguru said this. And so, like, it's that's also an option to throw it out there. Like, there is identifying with everything, which is super beautiful, as well as kind of removing identification. There is also just the oneness, which is, again, kind of the same thing as saying identifying with everything. It's really the same thing, right?
I love that concept.
Yeah, it's super fucking cool, man. I really enjoyed it. I remember hearing that and I'm like, dude, that makes so much sense.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I just wanted to leave people with that, just to kind of tie a nice little bow on it, and give people some simplistic things to take back. So, um, anything come up for you as I was sharing that?
No, that was great, man. Let's end on that.
Cool. And so I'm going to leave you guys with two questions to take with you. First question is, what identity are you most afraid to lose and why? And then the last question is, what remains when everything temporarily falls away? And these are questions for you guys. I ain't fucking answering them. It's for you, man. Right. So again, first question, what identity are you most afraid to lose and why? This is all for you, man. Do this work for yourself and see what comes up. And the second question is what remains when everything temporarily falls away? Right? What remains when all of your identifications, your roles, your experiences, your memories, everything, if that all falls away, what happens? And if you want to be guided through that experience of that second question and come to that answer, insane. I'm glad I remembered this. Muji, Mooji, Muji. Um, Another beautiful being and teacher. He did a guided meditation on Russell Brand's podcast a couple of years ago. Just type in like Russell Brand Muji meditation and allow Muji to guide you through so you can answer that second question because the whole meditation is pretty much will allow you to answer that second question. So I invite you to do that. It's a very beautiful experience. I'm excited for you to have it. So other than that, thank you, everyone listening. Thank you, Dan, for just always being here, being the homie, creating this with me, making shit happen, and always just sharing so vulnerably and authentically, dude. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Cool. All right. See you soon.